Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's painting time-lapse featuring this portrait of an adorable singing bird on a tree full of yellow flowers. My main inspiration for this piece was actually this beautiful ornate white and gold frame that I had laying around in storage for the past few years, and I just never was able to create a painting that fit this frame because most of my paintings are rectangles. So I thought, why not just create a custom piece specifically for this oval shape? All right, let's get started with the art supplies first. I'm actually using acrylic for this piece, and I was so honored to be able to try out this beautiful set of 50 acrylic tubes from GenCrafts. I'll share a more detailed review throughout the video, but if you're interested in these acrylics, I have a link for a 15% off discount code, as well as a giveaway for a free set of these acrylics in the video description below. Now let's move on to the painting demo. Also, if you want to check out a longer, more comprehensive 30-minute version of this tutorial with accompanying color mixing guidelines and step-by-step process photos, I'll be posting it along with hundreds of hours of other rewards on my Patreon page at patreon.com/happydartist. Okay, moving on to the very first step of this process, which was actually to outline the shape of the frame. Like I mentioned before, it's a very unique oval shape, and there are no pre-made panels or pre-cut sheets of paper in this shape. So in order to make a painting that fits this frame perfectly, I just took out the glass cover of the frame and traced it over a sheet of acrylic paper. I'll be using this outline as a sort of border for my entire painting, starting with the underdrawing. And if you've seen any of my other painting videos, especially the watercolor, acrylic, or gouache videos, you'll probably know by now that my go-to starting point for any water-soluble paints is to start off with an erasable red colored pencil for my underdrawing. This is because the red colored pencil interacts so much more pleasantly with the water-soluble paints. It doesn't accidentally muddy the colors the way graphite does, and even though I'm starting off with carmine red, which is this shade right now, and my actual painting's color scheme is going to be very light blue and yellow, the red doesn't actually interfere that much. Somehow when I layer water and pigment on top of the carmine red, it still mixes with the colors in a way that's creating more harmony than if I had used a regular gray graphite pencil. So I can't stress enough just how much I love starting off every watercolor or acrylic or gouache painting with this red erasable colored pencil. Now it's time for the first layer. I started off with a base color of a light sky blue, but I actually made it a little bit more saturated than I had hoped. So you'll see me later on continuing to cover this blue up with some light grayish white just to dilute it and give more focus to the bird and the flowers, which I wanted to be a lot more saturated than the background so that they can stand out. As all my first layers go, regardless of what medium I'm using, the primary purpose is to just lay down a basic color blocking layer that fills up the entire painting surface and gives me a good, solid kind of initial picture of how the colors are going to interact with each other and if there's anything major I need to fix in the composition. At this early beginning stage, I'm not concerned with the little details yet. That's something I'll be tackling next in the second layer. This is the part where I start having fun, refining all the details, and also where the painting process begins to take a lot longer. The first few stages of creating the underdrawing and the color blocking layer were things that I could do fairly roughly and fairly fast because I didn't have to worry about getting things perfect. But now I have to be extra careful and meticulous because this is where the painting really comes to life, and I have to be very mindful of each brushstroke and make sure that I'm not creating any major mistakes because acrylics are a lot more transparent than oil paints or gouache. So if I make a mistake in acrylic, it's going to be a lot tougher to cover up. It's not impossible, it's just a lot tougher. That's why just trying to make the overly saturated blue background a bit less saturated, it'll take me several layers to do. I also decided to create some more balance and harmony in the piece by making the blossoms on the tree more yellow so that it's not just one super concentrated area of yellow on the bird's body, but rather the yellow is kind of dispersed and sprinkled throughout the composition. Initially, I wanted the blossoms to be white and the background to be close to white, and that way I thought that I could put more focus on the bird. But then I just realized something about the piece felt very empty and off balance. So at the tail end of my second layer, I decided on a whim to deviate from my original plan and make those blossoms yellow so that I can harmonize the bird with the tree. Now it is time for the third and final layer, which is my favorite step in this painting process. I love getting lost in the little details and watching that bird come to life. This is probably the stage that takes the longest because I'm using a very tiny brush and being very careful with even the slightest changes in my colors, my values, my line work. I wanted to make sure I could accurately depict all of the fun and unique textures on the bird's feathers, as well as making sure that things look realistic yet still can retain a whimsical fantasy nature that I like to incorporate into all of my pieces. And this process of using acrylics again, this is actually my second time using acrylics in quite a few years. I did one painting previously a few months ago, acrylic on canvas, which I struggled a lot with, and I just couldn't get over how difficult the canvas texture was to accommodate with acrylics. This time it went way better. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I was painting on paper this time, and the paper just interacted very beautifully and gave me very few problems, especially with this specific brand of acrylics. The colors are very heavily pigmented. I love that there was a huge selection to choose from and I didn't have to do too much manual mixing. And overall, it was just a lot of fun to work with. I definitely want to revisit acrylics, but this time I'll only stick to painting on paper. No more dealing with that fussy canvas texture for me. But yeah, it was just such a pleasant surprise how much I actually enjoyed working with the medium this time. Now that the piece is almost done, I'm using a white Uniball Signo gel pen to sign my name. And I'm just using a paper towel to dab off any excess white gel pen and just going back with the acrylic to refine my signature a bit. After completing the signature, I am pretty much done with this painting, at least the actual painting part. But there's a final step which is very important, and that is fitting the piece into the frame. After coordinating the color scheme of the painting with the frame and envisioning what it would look like in the frame for so long, I was so excited to actually get it into the frame. I am just following along with that oval outline very carefully with a pair of scissors, making sure not to make any careless mistakes, because if I do, there's no turning back. Luckily, the cutting process went smoothly, and I know that this piece will be a perfect fit because it is the exact same size as the glass insert, which is a perfect fit in the frame. For the purpose of this video, I'm not going to put the actual glass on because the glare is too reflective, and I want to be able to shoot photos and videos of the painting in the frame without worrying about that glare. But rest assured, as soon as I finish recording this video and finish shooting all of my necessary photos, I put the glass covering back into the frame, and the original painting in real life does have that protective glass layer. And that about wraps up today's video. I hope you all enjoyed watching me paint this cute little bird. Thank you again to GenCrafts for supplying the wonderful acrylics. If you're interested in adopting this little bird painting and giving it a good home, I do have the framed original listed in my shop at happyd-artist.com. Also, real quick before I go, I wanted to let you know that I've decided to extend my spring sale until April 30th. So if you want 20% off of your order of everything, including originals, just enter the code SPRING at happyd-artist.com. And if you're interested in learning more about how to paint and draw, I have lots of art educational content on my Patreon page, including exclusive video tutorials, step-by-step photo tutorials, live streams, podcasts, and even surprise art gift boxes. All available at patreon.com/happydartist. I'd love to have you join my Patreon family. Also, if you want to check out more artworks, works in progress, and just random daily artist adventures, feel free to check out my Instagram, and you can follow me at the handle @happydartist.